When I found out I was pregnant, I immediately envisioned a happy future with my beloved husband and our adorable child. I thought we could build a wonderful family together and live happily. Yet, I never expected that such a reality awaited me. This is a story of how I battled the worst, most domineering husband. My name is Eleanor. I'm 30 years old. My husband's name is William, and he's a 34-year-old office worker. We've been married for almost 2 years now. Due to the age difference, my husband tends to be a bit domineering. He's the one who sets all the basic rules in our house. When William and I were getting married, he told me that he wanted me to take care of the house as a homekeeper. I accepted that request. Although I have less disposable income than when I was single, there are some aspects that make me feel a bit uncomfortable. However, I can only feel gratitude towards my husband for providing for me. Originally, I had a tendency to be indecisive, so having a husband who handles everything efficiently was very reliable. That's why I thought it was just right for him to be a bit domineering. Then one day, I, who had nothing but my health, became unusually ill. I had a fever, and my whole body felt heavy. I was in no condition to do any housework. I told my husband, who was lying beside me, "Sorry, William, I'm feeling a bit under the weather." My husband then sluggishly got up.
Is it a cold?
He asked. "I think I will be fine, but my body feels a bit sluggish, since I can't get up. Is it alright if you just get yourself a casual breakfast today?"
I see. For now, it's better to rest all day today. I'll be going to work, so if anything happens, please call your dad or mom.
It's not call me, is it? I felt a bit lonely, but my husband's company was in the midst of a busy season. Him suggesting that I contact my parents was probably his way of looking out for me. Both sets of in-laws lived nearby and always cared for us as a couple. I myself wasn't in a condition so severe that I couldn't move. After seeing my husband off, I decided to take it easy and rest for the day. However, my symptoms showed no signs of improvement. Even after several days, normally, a good night's sleep would cure it within a day. But this time, it had been 3 days and still no improvement. Even after a week passed, it was still no better. Even my husband, who is usually very composed, began to worry about my lingering health issues.
Hey, Eleanor, maybe it's a good idea to go to the hospital.
Yeah, you're right. I'll go check it out tomorrow. The following day, I decided to get examined at the nearby general hospital. After the tests were done,
You're pregnant.
Huh? I froze in shock upon hearing the news from the doctor. Pregnant? Me? Becoming a mother? I couldn't find the right words to express the incredible mix of joy and anxiety. For the time being, I returned home and decided to wait for my husband to come back. A few hours later, when my husband returned home, I told him about the fact that I was pregnant. William, it seems like I'm pregnant.
Huh? Pregnant?
It must have come as a surprise because my husband's eyes widened.
But you weren't feeling well, right? Could it be some illness?
Nope. All the symptoms I had were actually morning sickness.
Morning sickness?
As I explained the symptoms, my husband furrowed his brow. Then, he started saying something insensitive.
So, that means it's not an illness, right? Just that you were being a bit needy.
Needy? I didn't mean to come across that way.
Well, morning sickness isn't really an illness, is it? Yet, you've been skipping chores and sleeping for a whole week. Isn't there any explanation besides being needy?
It might not be an illness, but it was really tough. The feverish sensation and overall fatigue.
You can describe it in different ways. Besides, all pregnant women go through morning sickness. They've all experienced it. So don't make such a big deal out of it.
But the responses from my husband were completely unexpected. I had thought that getting pregnant would be met with joy first and foremost.
Anyway, starting tomorrow, make sure to take care of household chores just like before.
But I've had nausea since last night.
I don't care. Don't conveniently use morning sickness as an excuse.
No matter what I said, my husband wouldn't listen, and instead, he scolded me. Morning sickness is certainly not an illness. However, I was harboring a new life within me, and the burden on a woman's body is not to be taken lightly. Many men don't understand the hardships of pregnancy, but there were some insensitive words from my husband that I found hard to endure. Starting the next day, I did my best to handle household chores as usual. However, my body felt sluggish, and I experienced nausea even when there was nothing wrong. The most challenging part is when I'm preparing meals. The smell, especially when bread is baking, is unbearable. Ugh, I can't take it anymore. During cooking, I frequently had to rush to the bathroom. As a result, the quality and efficiency of my cooking naturally suffered compared to before. But no matter how much I tried to explain, my husband wouldn't forgive me at all. In fact, when I was retching in the bathroom, he said from behind,
Are you pretending to be sick again? I have work to do. Hurry up and prepare breakfast.
Sorry, but I just can't stand the smell of the bread.
I don't care. I'm not interested in your excuses.
I didn't mean it as an excuse.
What if your delays make me late for work? Can you take responsibility?
My husband continued to yell, completely disregarding my feelings, physically and emotionally. I felt increasingly cornered. I managed to hold back the nausea and finished preparing breakfast. However, my husband didn't touch his breakfast at all.
Oh no, because you are so slow. There's no time left for breakfast. You're really lazy, you know. At least handle the basics properly.
Saying that, he slammed the door shut. Why? I haven't done anything wrong. I'm just carrying our baby inside me. Why do I have to endure such harsh treatment? A mix of frustration and emptiness brought forth a never-ending stream of tears. These days continued for about 2 weeks. One day, after confirming that my husband had gone to work, I lay down. On this day, my condition was worse than usual, and no matter what I did, the nausea wouldn't stop. For the sake of our unborn child, I needed to eat something, but I would burn it just by drinking water. I had laid down and ended up falling asleep. When I woke up, it was already noon. I needed to eat something and take care of household tasks. As I was thinking this, my phone rang. The caller was my husband. With a sense of unease, I answered the call hesitantly. Hello?
You took a long time to answer. Don't tell me you were sleeping, right?
I'm sorry. I wasn't feeling well in the morning, and I was planning to do the household chores now. To be honest, when I admitted this, my husband sighed and hung up the call. Shortly after, I received a message from him on WhatsApp.
I almost shouted at work, so I hung up the phone. Seriously, do you have no respect for me?
The message exuded intense anger, and I felt a deep sense of fear from his furious tone. My hand holding the smartphone trembled slightly. I'm sorry. I will do better, so please don't be angry anymore.
I'm done. I've had enough of you.
And then, The WhatsApp messages stopped. What should I do? I need to reply somehow. But even if I apologize, I will just get scolded. So what should I do? While I was feeling flustered, my husband sent another WhatsApp message. The moment I saw the message, I accidentally dropped my phone on the floor.
If you can't even manage the household properly, then get rid of the child.
About the child? My vision went dark. My emotions were in turmoil. My breathing became irregular, and my heart raced. We had been blessed with our child, and I had thought it would bring us joy, and we could be a happy family. However, my husband not only failed to be happy, but also showed no understanding of my condition. Furthermore, to deny both me and the child in my womb like this, I won't forgive it. I can't stay silent in the face of something like this. I picked up the phone that had fallen to the floor. I understand. I sent in a message to my husband via WhatsApp. Then I packed my belongings and explained the situation to my parents, asked them to come pick me up. After returning home, my husband noticed that I was not there and received multiple missed calls from him.
Where are you? Avoiding housework? You are healthy enough to go out and have fun, so it was just a sham illness after all, huh? Hurry up and come home. Otherwise, I will divorce you.
In this person only capable of blaming, threatening, and belittling. By this point, my love for my husband had already completely cooled. In the end, he even called my parents home, so I told him, I have no intention of coming back, and blocked his contact information. Eleanor, are you sure about this? At this rate, you might have to give birth alone. Worried about me, my mother came to visit, but I had already made up my mind. It's okay. I will protect this child. My mother had a complex expression on her face, but understood my decision. I will help with what I can. She said this to me. A few days later, my husband went out of his way to visit my parents because I had cut off all communication, and he brought his parents with him.
What on earth are you thinking? Instead of idling around at your parents' home, hurry up and come home.
As soon as he opened his mouth, my husband shouted at me. Even my in-laws joined in to blame me.
That's right. You as a wife should not abandon household chores and push everything onto our son. Are you still a housewife?
I never thought you were that kind of person, Eleanor. You're pretending to be someone else in front of us all this time? I don't need a lazy wife in this house. Abandoning household chores? Pushing everything onto others? Don't joke around. I'm not doing that. I retorted with a deep breath, almost spitting out my words. If only you'd listen quietly. Cut it out. When did I ever push anything onto William? When did I abandon household chores? Despite going through the difficulties of morning sickness, I pushed myself and did what I could. So why do I have to hear such things from you?
Be quiet. What kind of language is that to use against the head of the household?
That's the kind of thing I've always hated about you. I snapped at my husband loudly, baring my teeth. Once I started, I couldn't stop. When someone is suffering from morning sickness, you tell them to hurry up and make breakfast? Or don't slack off on household chores? I'm not your servant. Do you know how painful morning sickness can be? Study more about a pregnant woman's body. You're good for nothing.
What kind of language is that to use against your husband?
In the end, you just don't understand people's feelings. You're not a dependable husband. I was mistaken to think that. So stupid of me.
Who do you think you owe your livelihood to?
Then I don't need that kind of life anymore.
What?
My parents-in-law, who had heard the argument, fearfully asked me,
Hey, weren't you imposing household chores on our son? And just lazing around without doing anything?
That's right. Didn't you make our son do all the housework under the excuse of your pregnancy? It seems my husband had been explaining things in a way that suited him. I told my in-laws the truth. Certainly, my morning sickness was severe, and there were times when I had to lie down. William told me that morning sickness isn't an illness, and not to be cuddled. So I've been struggling to do the household chores every day. I did it to the point where I almost collapsed. My in-laws' faces turned pale.
Hey, William, what is going on here?
When my father-in-law confronted my husband, he visibly trembled.
Oh, well...
Even at this point, my husband refused to admit his mistake. Frustrated, I decided to expose his most significant wrongdoing. Mom, Dad, your son told me that if I didn't do the housework, I should get an abortion. What?
Is that true, William?
My in-laws, shocked to their core, stared at their son with their mouths agape. The phrase "get an abortion" was clearly crossing the line. I believed I was doing what I could. However, William never considered my health. He denied our unborn child. It's impossible to live with someone like that. The anger of everyone present was directed at my husband. Perhaps, sensing the uncomfortable atmosphere, my husband nervously chuckled.
Okay, I get it. I was wrong. I will apologize, okay? So can we put an end to this discussion?
At that moment, crack, my mother-in-law landed a blow on my husband.
Oh, what are you doing?
My husband squinted at his mother. Cut it out! Do you realize what a miracle it is to conceive a child? Do you understand? You've not only berated Eleanor, who is suffering from morning sickness, but you've also exploited her. On top of that, you lied to us. How much longer will you keep treating Eleanor as the bad one? My mother-in-law yelled at my husband with tears in her eyes, and both my father-in-law and I couldn't do nothing but gasp in response. Then, my mother-in-law turned to me, lowering her head. Eleanor, I'm truly sorry. I believed that foolish son of mine and ended up hurting you. I know it's not something that can be forgiven, given what you have been through during morning sickness. But I'm truly sorry. My father-in-law also bowed deeply.
Eleanor, let me apologize as well. Our idiot son has caused a lot of trouble. We will make sure he takes responsibility. Leave the rest to us.
Then, my father-in-law turned to my husband.
You are disowned, William. What? Disowned? That's right. A son who'd casually tell his wife to get an abortion isn't part of our family. You're not part of our family. Agree to the divorce. We're a family, aren't we? Divorce and all this is going too far. Eleanor's feelings probably won't return. As a man, you should prepare yourself.
My husband was left speechless by his father's words. Although my husband was initially reluctant to sign the divorce agreement, with the cooperation of his parents, he eventually seems to accept it. He appeared completely dejected, like an empty shell. Later on, through a lawyer, I claimed alimony and child support from my husband. I made the decision to give birth to the child on my own. Afterward, my husband sent me several WhatsApp messages.
I was in the wrong. Please forgive me. I realize that there is no one else but you, Eleanor, for me. Please come back.
However, I discarded his messages without responding. It seems that my husband, who had severed ties with his parents, is living alone in a neglected house. His behavior is affecting the workplace too. And now his colleagues are talking like this.
It seems his wife ran away from him, huh? His shirt is all wrinkled, and he hasn't even shaved. And on top of that, I heard his wife was pregnant. What a shame. He used to act so domineering until recently.
It seems my husband is constantly being made fun of at work, and day by day, he is losing his standing. I wonder how long his pride can endure in that environment. Well, it's no longer my concern. From now on, I want to prioritize my unborn child and our life together, even without a father. I want to make sure this child feels happy. I will give the child a lot of love.